Captain Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of Crossroads 7, watching the alien ship approach through the viewport. The massive vessel looked like nothing he had ever seen before. Its hull curved and flowed like water frozen in space, covered in panels that shifted color from blue to purple as it moved. No human ship looked anything like this beautiful and strange craft. Jake had been a ship captain for 15 years, but this was his first time meeting aliens. His hands felt sweaty inside his uniform gloves. Behind him, his crew from the Earth vessel Endeavour waited quietly. Chief Engineer Lisa Park checked her tablet for the 100th time that morning. Security Officer Ben Carter kept his hand near, his sidearm, even though weapons were not allowed during diplomatic meetings. Communications Specialist Amy Rodriguez adjusted her translation equipment one more time. The alien ship docked with a soft thud that barely shook the station. Jake took a deep breath and walked toward the airlock. Today would change everything for humanity. After 50 years of space travel, humans were finally meeting other intelligent life. The Galactic Federation had agreed to consider Earth's application for membership. This meeting would decide humanity's future among the stars. The airlock opened with a hiss of air. 3 aliens stepped through, and Jake tried not to stare. They were tall and thin, almost fragile-looking. Their skin was pale gray and seemed to glow softly in the station's lights. They had large eyes that looked kind and peaceful. Their leader wore robes that seemed to be made of liquid light. "Greetings," the lead alien said in perfect English, through a small device on his chest. "I am Ambassador Zethka of the Valerian Republic. We are honored to meet the humans of Earth." Jake stepped forward and offered his hand. "Captain Jake Morrison, representing Earth and the human colonies. Welcome to Crossroads 7. Zethka looked at Jake's hand with confusion, then carefully touched it with his own. His fingers were longer than human fingers and felt cold. "An interesting custom," he said. "We are pleased to begin these discussions." They moved to the station's main conference room. The humans sat on one side of a long table, the aliens on the other. Jake noticed that the aliens' chairs had been specially made, taller and thinner than human furniture. Everything about them seemed delicate and refined. "Before we begin," Zethka said, "we must complete our evaluation of your species and your world. The Galactic Federation has strict rules about which species can join our peaceful alliance." Amy activated her recording equipment. "We're ready to answer any questions you have about Earth and humanity." One of the other aliens, who had introduced himself as Science Advisor Melthka, pulled out a device that projected images in the air above the table. "We have studied your planet from a distance, but some of our readings seem incorrect. Perhaps you can explain." The first image showed Earth from space, blue and white and beautiful. Jake smiled. "That's our home. Pretty, isn't it?" The aliens looked worried. "The gravitational readings suggest your planet has 3 times the standard gravity of civilized worlds. Surely this is a mistake." Lisa leaned forward. "No, that's correct. Earth gravity is about 9.8 meters per second squared. Is that unusual?" The aliens exchanged glances that Jake could not read. Melthka touched his device and new images appeared. These showed Earth's surface, mountains, oceans, storms, and volcanoes. "Your world appears to be extremely active. Geological instability, severe weather patterns, and..." He paused, looking disturbed. "Is it true that your planet's surface is covered in dangerous organisms?" Ben laughed. "You mean like animals? Sure, we have plenty of wildlife." "Wildlife?" Zethka repeated the word like it tasted bad. "Organisms that hunt and kill other organisms for survival?" "Well, yes," Jake said, starting to feel confused. "That's how nature works. Animals eat plants or other animals. It's the food chain." The image changed to show a lion hunting a zebra. All 3 aliens moved back from the table. "Your planet is classified as a Class 12 death world," Melthka said in a shaking voice. "The most dangerous category in our records." Amy blinked. "Death world? That seems a bit dramatic. Earth can be dangerous, but humans have lived there for thousands of years." "Humans evolved on this world," Zethka said. It was not a question. Of course, Jake answered. Where else would we have evolved? The silence that followed felt heavy and cold. The aliens stared at the humans like they were looking at monsters. Finally, Zeth Ka spoke again. You are saying that your species developed on a high-gravity world with geological instability, severe weather, and predatory organisms. That's right, Lisa said. Though we've made it a lot safer with technology. We've built cities, controlled the weather in some places, and most dangerous animals avoid humans now. Most dangerous animals, the third alien whispered. His name was War Advisor Kenth Ka, though Jake wondered why a peaceful species needed a war advisor. There are animals on your world that hunt humans? Ben shrugged. Not very often anymore. Maybe sharks in the ocean or bears in the wilderness. Big cats in some places. But humans are pretty good at staying away from dangerous animals. And you fight these predators? Kenth Ka asked. If we have to, Ben answered. But mostly we just avoid them. The aliens were quiet for a long time. They spoke to each other in their own language, which sounded like musical chimes. Finally, Zeth Ka turned back to the humans. We need to see your physical capabilities. Please stand. The humans stood up. Jake noticed that standing seemed easy for them but harder for the aliens, who moved slowly and carefully. Your bodies are much denser than ours, Melthka observed. Thicker bones, stronger muscles. This is adaptation to high gravity, yes? I guess so, Jake said. We've never really thought about it. Please demonstrate your strength, Zeth Ka requested. Lift this table. Ben stepped forward and picked up the heavy metal table with both hands. It probably weighed about 100 pounds, but he lifted it without much effort. The aliens backed away as if he had pulled out a weapon. By the great harmony, Kenth Ka whispered, your species is built for warfare. We're built for survival, Jake corrected. Earth is a tough place to live. Humans had to become tough to survive. You have wars among your own species, Zeth Ka said. It was not a question. Amy looked uncomfortable. Yes, humans have fought wars throughout history, but we're trying to move past that. We want to join the galactic community as a peaceful species. Peaceful, Zeth Ka repeated. Your history records show thousands of conflicts. Your planet has weapons capable of destroying all life on its surface. Your species practices organized violence as a method of resolving disputes. That's our past, Jake said firmly. We're working to build a better future. That's why we want to join the Federation. The aliens spoke among themselves again in their musical language. The conversation seemed heated, though it was hard to tell with their different expressions. Finally, Zeth Ka turned back to face the humans. The Valerian Republic has made its decision, he announced. Humanity is too dangerous to be allowed into civilized space. Your species represents an existential threat to peaceful worlds throughout the galaxy. Jake felt his heart sink. But we came here in peace. We want to be part of your alliance. You are apex biological weapons, Zeth Ka said coldly. Your planet created you to be killers, and killers you remain. The Valerian Republic will not allow your species to spread this violence among the stars. That's not fair, Lisa protested. You haven't given us a chance to prove ourselves. Zeth Ka stood up, moving with surprising speed despite his fragile appearance. The decision is final. The Valerian Republic will take appropriate action to contain the human threat before it can endanger innocent civilizations. Ben stepped forward, his hand moving toward his weapon before he stopped himself. Are you threatening us? We are protecting the galaxy, Kenth Ka answered. Your species will be contained or eliminated. This is not negotiable. The three aliens walked toward the airlock without another word. Jake and his crew watched them go, too shocked to speak. The first meeting between humans and aliens had just become humanity's first interstellar crisis. Jake activated his communication device. Captain Morrison to Endeavor. Prepare for immediate departure. Notify Earth Command that we have a problem. As the Valerian ship undocked from Crossroads 7, Jake realized that humanity's dream of joining the galactic community had just become a nightmare. The aliens saw humans as monsters that needed to be destroyed. War was coming, whether humanity wanted it or not. Admiral Korath Prime stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Peace, watching as more Valerian warships joined his fleet. 200 vessels had gathered in the Harmony system, the largest military force the Valerian Republic had assembled in 50 years. Each ship gleamed with polished metal and energy shields that sparkled like jewels in space. The Admiral was proud of his fleet. Every ship represented the finest technology that Valerian science could create. Their plasma cannons could burn through any known armor. Their energy shields could stop the most powerful weapons. Their crews were trained in the ancient arts of space warfare, though none had ever seen real combat. Admiral, his aide Commander Velith Ka approached with a data pad. The final squadrons have arrived. We are ready to begin the advance toward the human system. Korath Prime nodded, his pale gray skin reflecting the soft lights of the bridge. Excellent. How long to reach their world? 3 days at maximum. Speed, Velith Ka replied. Our intelligence suggests they have only 12 combat vessels, all primitive designs using chemical rockets and metal projectiles. The Admiral smiled. 12 ships against 200. The humans had no chance. Begin the advance. Signal all ships to maintain formation. We will show these Deathworlders the power of civilized technology. The massive fleet turned toward the edge of the system and jumped to faster-than-light travel. Behind them, they left the safety of Valerian space for the first time in decades. None of them knew they were flying toward the greatest military disaster in their species' history. On Earth, General Kevin Hayes stood in the war room deep beneath the Pentagon. The walls were covered with screens showing the positions of human ships throughout the solar system. Red dots marked the approaching Valerian fleet, still 3 days away but closing fast. 12 ships, Kevin said to the officers around him. 12 ships against 200. They're not even real warships, most of them are converted cargo haulers. Colonel Susan Wright pulled up a display showing humanity's pathetic fleet. The largest vessel was the cruiser Independence, originally built to carry supplies to Mars colonies. Next came several smaller ships that had been mining vessels just months before. All of them had been fitted with weapons as quickly as possible, but they looked crude compared to the elegant alien designs. What about the new weapons? Kevin asked. Chief Designer Rachel Stone stepped forward. She looked tired from months of working 20-hour days. We've installed railguns on all combat vessels, kinetic weapons that fire metal slugs at extremely high speed. The aliens seem to rely on energy shields, which might not stop solid projectiles. Might not, Kevin repeated. That's not very encouraging. Rachel shrugged. We've never fought aliens before. We're making educated guesses based on their technology. Their ships are built for beauty and efficiency, not durability. That might be a weakness we can exploit. Dr. Marcus Webb entered the room carrying a box of alien equipment that had been left behind at Crossroads 7. I've been studying their technology. Their materials are incredibly advanced, but also incredibly light. Everything is designed for low-gravity environments. He pulled out a piece of alien metal that looked like it weighed nothing. This armor plating is stronger than our best steel, but it's hollow inside like a bird bone. It can probably stop energy weapons easily, but I'm not sure how it would handle the impact of a solid projectile. Kevin felt a small spark of hope. Are you saying our primitive weapons might actually work against them? Maybe, Marcus said, but we'll need to get close enough to use them. Their ships are much faster than ours. The general turned to look at the tactical display again. Earth's defenses looked pitiful compared to the approaching alien armada. Humanity's only advantage was that they were fighting for their homeworld. There was nowhere to run, and no option but victory. Send orders to all ship commanders, Kevin said. Make ready for battle. If we're going to die, we'll make them remember the cost of fighting humans. 3 days later, the Valerian fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Korath Prime expected to find human ships waiting in formation, ready to surrender when they saw the size of his force. Instead, his sensors detected only empty space. Where are they? He asked his sensor officer. Unknown, Admiral. We detect 12 vessels scattered throughout the system. They appear to be hiding among the asteroids and moons. Kareth Prime frowned. Hiding? Are they planning to surrender without fighting? Perhaps they hope we will be merciful if they do not resist, Commander Velithka suggested. The Admiral considered this. The humans had shown themselves to be violent and dangerous, but perhaps they were also smart enough to recognize hopeless odds. Signal all human vessels. Tell them to surrender immediately, and we will consider letting their species survive on one world under our supervision. The response came from Captain Jake Morrison aboard the Endeavour, hidden behind one of Jupiter's moons. Admiral Kareth Prime, this is Captain Morrison of Earth. We reject your surrender demand. If you want our world, come and take it. The bridge of the Eternal Peace fell silent. No civilized species had ever responded to a Valerian ultimatum with defiance. The Admiral felt something he had never experienced before. Anger. Signal the fleet, he ordered. Advance in battle formation. Destroy any human ship that resists. Show them the price of defying the Valerian Republic. The beautiful alien ships moved forward in perfect lines, their energy shields glowing like stars. They had trained for this moment for years, practicing maneuvers and formations. Everything looked exactly like their war games, except this time, the enemy would actually fight back. Captain Steve Murphy waited in the asteroid belt aboard his converted cargo ship, the Hammer. The vessel had carried grain to Mars colonies just 6 months ago. Now it was armed with 2 railguns and a crew of volunteers who had never seen combat. Multiple contacts approaching, his sensor operator called out. Count is, dear God, there are hundreds of them. Steve looked at the tactical display and felt his stomach drop. The alien fleet filled the screen like a cloud of angry insects. Each ship was larger and more advanced than anything humanity had ever built. This was going to be a massacre. All stations report ready, his weapons officer announced. Good, Steve replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Remember, we're not trying to win this fight. We're trying to make them pay for starting it. Target the largest ships first. Make every shot count. Similar scenes played out on human ships throughout the solar system. Captain Dan Mitchell aboard the converted mining vessel Sledgehammer checked his weapons one final time. Commander Nina Foster positioned her fast attack craft Lightning behind Saturn's rings. Lieutenant Kate Brooks made sure her boarding equipment was ready, though the idea of actually boarding an alien ship seemed impossible. None of them expected to survive the battle, but they were all determined to show the aliens that humans would not die quietly. Admiral Kareth Prime watched his fleet advance toward the inner system. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. The human ships remained hidden, probably hoping to avoid the inevitable slaughter as long as possible. Admiral, his communications officer announced, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. It appears to be some kind of audio signal. Put it through. The bridge speakers filled with sound that made every Valerian officer step back in shock. It was human music, but not the gentle melodies of civilized species. This was something harsh and driving with heavy beats and aggressive vocals. The aliens had never heard anything like rock music before. What is this noise? Velithka asked, covering his sensitive ears. War music, Kareth Prime realized. They're not hiding in fear, they're preparing to fight. For the first time since leaving Valerian space, the Admiral felt a cold touch of doubt. Perhaps these Deathworlders would not be as easy to defeat as his planners had assumed. But it was too late to reconsider. The fleet was committed to battle, and retreat would mean disgrace. All ships, he ordered, prepare for combat. Show these primitives the power of advanced civilization. The Battle of Titan was about to begin. The first shot of the Battle of Titan came from Captain Steve Murphy aboard the Hammer. His converted cargo ship had been hiding in the asteroid field for 6 hours, waiting for the perfect moment. When the lead Valerian ships passed within range, he gave the order his crew had been dreading and hoping for. Fire Railgun 1, Steve commanded. The magnetic cannon launched a solid metal slug at incredible speed. The projectile crossed the gap between ships in seconds and struck the Valerian cruiser Gentle Harmony directly in its center. The alien's energy shields, designed to absorb plasma bolts and laser beams, offered no protection against the dense metal slug traveling at thousands of meters per second. The impact tore completely through the alien ship from front to back. The beautiful curved hull split apart like an egg, spilling atmosphere and debris into space. Emergency lights flickered briefly before going dark forever. The gentle Harmony, pride of the Valerian Third Fleet, died in less than 10 seconds. On the bridge of the Eternal Peace, Admiral Korath Prime watched in shock as one of his ships simply vanished from the tactical display. What happened to the gentle Harmony? Direct hit, Admiral, his sensor officer reported with disbelief in his voice. The ship has been destroyed. Impossible, Korath Prime snapped. Our shields can stop any known weapon. How did they penetrate our defenses? The projectile appears to have been solid matter, not energy. Our shields are not designed to stop physical objects. Before the Admiral could respond, more human ships opened fire from hidden positions throughout the asteroid belt. The Hammer launched its second railgun shot, destroying another Valerian cruiser. Captain Dan Mitchell's mining ship Sledgehammer emerged from behind a large asteroid and began firing at the alien formation's flank. The Valerian fleet, trained in elegant formations and civilized warfare, found itself under attack by enemies who refused to follow the rules. Human ships darted between asteroids like insects, using the rocky debris as cover. Their crude weapons punched through alien hulls with shocking effectiveness. Return fire, Korath Prime ordered. All ships engaged the human vessels. The Valerian plasma cannons began to respond, sending brilliant beams of energy toward the human ships. The weapons were beautiful to watch, painting space with colors that had no names. They were also incredibly powerful, capable of melting through meters of solid metal. But the human ships refused to stay still long enough to be hit. Captain Nina Foster's attack craft Lightning danced between plasma bolts like a fighter avoiding punches. Her ship had been designed to navigate asteroid fields, making it incredibly agile compared to the large alien vessels. "This is Lightning to all human ships," Nina broadcast. "Their weapons are powerful but slow to track. Keep moving and they can't hit us." The battle became a deadly game of cat and mouse among the asteroids. Valerian ships tried to use their superior firepower to destroy the humans, but their elegant vessels were not built for this kind of rough fighting. When Commander Veleth Ka ordered his squadron to pursue the Lightning into a dense asteroid field, 3 of his ships collided with rocks while trying to make tight turns. The humans had grown up on a world where everything was trying to kill them. Flying through dangerous terrain while being shot at felt almost natural. The aliens, raised on peaceful garden worlds, had never experienced anything like this chaos. Engineer Tony Garcia aboard the mining ship Drill pushed his converted vessel harder than it had ever been designed to go. His ship was slow and clumsy, but it was also incredibly tough. Mining vessels had to survive impacts with asteroids and exposure to harsh radiation. When Valerian plasma bolts hit his hull, the energy spread across armor designed to handle much worse punishment. "Tony, you've got 3 ships closing on your position," Captain Murphy warned over the communication channel. "I see them," Tony replied. He spun his ship around and fired both railguns at the closest Valerian cruiser. The first shot missed, but the second punched through the alien ship's engine section. The beautiful vessel began to tumble out of control, leaking fuel and atmosphere. The other 2 Valerian ships fired at Tony's ship with everything they had. Plasma bolts hammered against the Drill's thick hull, scorching the metal but failing to penetrate. Tony laughed as he returned fire. "Come on, you pretty boys. My ship was built to work in hell. Your fancy weapons tickle." But the real shock for the Valerian fleet came when the human crews began to show their true endurance. The battle had been raging for 8 hours, and the alien crews were exhausted. Valerians from low-gravity worlds could not handle prolonged stress the way humans could. Many enemy ships began to make mistakes as their crews collapsed from fatigue. Captain Steve Murphy had been fighting continuously for 12 hours without rest. His crew rotated positions to grab quick naps, but Steve remained at his command post the entire time. On his homeworld, working long shifts under dangerous conditions was normal. This battle was just another day at the office. "Captain," his weapons officer called out, "we're down to our last ammunition magazine." Steve nodded. The hammer had been firing steadily throughout the battle, and their converted cargo holds could only carry so many railgun slugs. But they had made every shot count. His single ship had destroyed 6 Valerian vessels and damaged several more. "Load the special rounds," Steve ordered. The special rounds were an idea from chief designer Rachel Stone. Instead of solid metal slugs, these projectiles contained small explosive charges. They were designed to detonate inside enemy ships after penetrating the hull. Steve had been saving them for the most important targets. He identified the Valerian command ship by its size and the way other vessels stayed close to it. The Eternal Peace was the largest ship in the enemy fleet, its hull covered with communication arrays and sensor equipment. Destroying it would throw the entire Valerian force into confusion. "Target the flagship," Steve commanded. "Fire when ready." The explosive railgun round crossed space in seconds and penetrated the Eternal Peace's hull near the bridge section. The charge detonated inside the ship, destroying critical systems and killing dozens of crew members. Emergency alarms began screaming throughout the vessel. Admiral Koreth Prime found himself thrown to the deck as his ship shuddered from the impact. Emergency lights bathed the bridge in red as damage reports flooded in from all sections. "Damage report," he demanded. "Multiple hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, his engineering officer reported. "Life support is failing in those sections. We've lost primary navigation and half our weapon systems." The admiral looked at his tactical display and felt something he had never experienced before: fear. His beautiful fleet of 200 ships had been reduced to less than 100 operational vessels. The humans with their 12 crewed ships had fought his advanced armada to a standstill. "How is this possible?" he whispered. The answer came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Kate Brooks had done something that no civilized species had attempted in centuries. While the space battle raged around them, she had taken a small shuttle and actually boarded one of the damaged Valerian ships. Kate and her team of Marines moved through the alien vessel's corridors, fighting the surviving crew hand to hand. The Valerians had never experienced close combat. Their species had evolved beyond physical violence thousands of years ago. When faced with humans who were willing to fight with their bare hands, the aliens simply could not cope. "This is boarding Team Alpha," Kate reported to the human fleet. "We've secured the enemy vessel Swift Current. These aliens have no idea how to fight up close. They just run away when we get near them." The news spread quickly through both fleets. The humans realized that their enemies were not just technologically different, but physically and mentally unprepared for real warfare. The Valerians began to understand that they had made a terrible mistake in attacking these Deathworlders. Admiral Koreth Prime looked at his losses and made the hardest decision of his military career. "Signal all ships," he ordered. "Begin withdrawal to the outer system. We need to regroup and reassess our strategy." "Admiral," Commander Veleth Ka protested, "we cannot retreat from these primitives. What will the Republic say?" "The Republic will say we were fools to underestimate them," Koreth Prime replied bitterly. "These humans are not like any enemy we have ever faced. They fight like demons and refuse to die when any civilized being would surrender." As the surviving Valerian ships began their retreat, Captain Murphy watched them go from the bridge of his battered vessel. The hammer had taken severe damage, but it was still operational. Around him, the other human ships reported similar status. They had all been hurt, but none had been destroyed. "This is Captain Morrison to all human vessels." Jake's voice came over the communication channel from his ship hidden near Jupiter. "Excellent work, everyone. We've bloodied their nose and sent them running." Steve looked at the tactical display showing the retreating alien fleet. They had won this battle, but he knew the war was far from over. The Valerians would be back, and next time they would be prepared for human tactics. But something had changed in the balance of power. The galaxy had seen that humans could fight back against seemingly impossible odds. The reputation of the Valerian Republic as an unstoppable military force was broken forever. News of the Battle of Titan spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within hours of the Valerian retreat, communication networks throughout civilized space buzzed with reports of the impossible human victory. A primitive species from a death world had defeated the mighty Valerian Republic in open battle. On the peaceful world of Arcturus Prime, speaker Gentlesong received the battle reports with great interest. The Arcturian collective had been members of the Galactic Federation for over 1,000 years, and they had never seen anything like this. Their species valued harmony and understanding above all else, making them natural diplomats and mediators. Fascinating, Gentlesong said to her council of advisors. The humans fought only in self-defense. The Valerians attacked them without provocation, and yet the galaxy treats the humans as the aggressors. Advisor Soft Voice pulled up holographic displays showing the battle. The humans used kinetic weapons exclusively. No energy weapons, no biological warfare, no planet-killing devices. They fought with remarkable restraint, considering they were fighting for their species' survival. Perhaps we should reach out to them, suggested Advisor Kindheart. They may be from a dangerous world, but their actions suggest they are not naturally violent. They only fought when attacked. Meanwhile, on the militaristic world of Draco Major, General Fierceclaw studied the same battle reports with very different thoughts. The Draconian Empire had built its reputation on military might and conquest. They respected strength above all other qualities, and the humans had just demonstrated considerable strength. These Deathworlders are impressive, Fierceclaw told his war council. They defeated a fleet 10 times their size using inferior technology. Imagine what they could accomplish with proper weapons and training. War Master Sharp Talon disagreed. They are too dangerous to trust. If they can defeat the Valerians so easily, what could they do to us? We should support the Republic's efforts to contain them before they become a real threat. The debate split. The Draconian leadership. Some saw the humans as potential allies who could strengthen the Empire. Others viewed them as rivals who needed to be eliminated before they grew too powerful. On Earth, President Helen Cross faced the most difficult decision in human history. The planet's defense industry was working at maximum capacity, but resources were running dangerously low. Every piece of metal, every computer chip, every trained technician was being used to build more ships and weapons. We can't keep this up forever, she told her cabinet during an emergency meeting. Our economy is completely focused on military production. If this war goes on much longer, we'll run out of materials to build ships. Secretary of Defense Robert Kane pulled up production reports. We've managed to complete 8 new vessels since the battle, all converted civilian ships with railgun weapons, but we're scraping the bottom of the barrel for raw materials. General Kevin Hayes entered the room carrying classified intelligence reports. I have updates from our reconnaissance missions. Captain Morrison's team has been scouting Valerian space, and what they've found is interesting. He activated a holographic projector showing images of Valerian worlds. Their planets are barely defended. Most of their military was in the fleet that attacked us. Their homeworlds have only orbital platforms for protection, and those platforms seem designed for intimidation rather than actual fighting. President Cross studied the images carefully. Are you suggesting we take the fight to them? It's our only option, Kevin replied. If we wait here for them to rebuild their fleet, they'll come back with better weapons and new tactics. But if we strike now, while they're still shocked by their defeat, we might be able to end this war quickly. The idea was terrifying and brilliant at the same time. Humanity had never launched an offensive war against another species, but they were running out of alternatives. Dr. Sandra Martinez had been working around the clock studying captured Valerian technology. Her laboratory was filled with pieces of alien equipment recovered from the Battle of Titan. What she had discovered changed everything humans thought they knew about galactic civilization. Their technology is incredibly advanced, she explained to the assembled military leaders. But it's all designed for peaceful purposes. Their computers are optimized for art and music, not warfare. Their materials are built for beauty and efficiency, not durability. She picked up a piece of alien metal that shimmered with rainbow colors. This armor plating is stronger than our best steel and weighs almost nothing. But it's designed to stop energy weapons. Against kinetic impact, it's actually weaker than our primitive steel armor. Admiral Jack Sullivan leaned forward. What about their military training? That's the most interesting part, Sandra continued. From what we can tell, their entire species has been peaceful for thousands of years. They have no recent experience with actual warfare. Their tactics are all theoretical. based on computer simulations and ancient history. She pulled up data, showing Valerian crew performance during the battle. Their soldiers collapsed from exhaustion after just a few hours of combat. They have no endurance for prolonged fighting, and when faced with close combat, they simply ran away. General Hayes smiled grimly. So they're not warriors at all, they're scientists and artists playing at being soldiers. Exactly, Sandra confirmed. And that applies to most species in the galaxy. They've all evolved on peaceful garden worlds where survival was easy. They've never had to develop the kind of toughness that humans take for granted. Captain Jake Morrison had spent weeks sneaking through Valerian space aboard his modified scout ship. What he found confirmed Dr. Martinez's theories about galactic civilization. The alien worlds were beautiful beyond imagination, but they were also completely unprepared for war. Their orbital defenses are a joke, Jake reported during a secure communication with Earth. Pretty energy platforms that would look impressive in a parade, but they couldn't stop a determined attack. Their ground forces are even worse. I watched their military parade on Serenity Prime, and their soldiers looked like they would fall over if you pushed them. He transmitted images of the Valerian homeworld. Crystalline cities rose from flower-covered plains under a gentle orange sun. Flying vehicles moved in perfect patterns through the sky. Everything was organized, peaceful, and completely defenseless. They've forgotten how to fight, Jake continued. Maybe they never really knew how. For them, war is something that happens, in history books and computer games. The intelligence changed everything about humanity's strategic situation. They were not facing a military superpower, but a collection of advanced civilizations that had grown soft from too many centuries of peace. President Cross called a meeting of Earth's top military commanders to discuss Admiral Sullivan's plan for Operation Lighthouse. The name came from humanity's goal to send a message that would be seen across the galaxy. Attacking Earth was a mistake that would not be tolerated. The plan is simple, Admiral Sullivan explained. We take our entire combat fleet and strike directly at the Valerian homeworld, not to destroy it, but to demonstrate that we can reach any target in their space. How many ships do we have operational? President Cross asked. 24 vessels, Sullivan replied. All armed with railguns and crewed by volunteers. It's not much, but it should be enough to overwhelm their orbital defenses. Secretary Kane looked worried. What if it's a trap? What if they're expecting us to attack their homeworld? Admiral Sullivan smiled. Then we'll find out just how good their defenses really are. But based on everything we've learned, I don't think they have any real military capability left. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Humanity was about to launch its first interstellar invasion. They would either end the war quickly or destroy themselves in the attempt. I'll need to address the United Nations, President Cross said finally. This decision affects all of humanity, not just the United States. Within hours, the UN Security Council voted unanimously to authorize Operation Lighthouse. Representatives from every nation agreed that humanity's survival depended on taking the initiative. If they remained on the defensive, the aliens would eventually wear them down through sheer numbers. Captain Morrison returned to Earth to take command of the new flagship Independence, a converted colony ship that had been fitted with the most powerful railguns humanity could build. His crew included many veterans from the Battle of Titan, soldiers who had proven they could fight against impossible odds. Are you ready for this? Admiral Sullivan asked Jake during their final briefing. Jake looked at the tactical display showing their planned route to Valerian space. 24 human ships against an entire alien civilization. The odds were still terrible, but something had changed since the first battle. The humans no longer felt like helpless victims. They had tasted victory and found they liked it. We're as ready as we'll ever be, Jake replied. Let's go show the galaxy what happens when you pick a fight with Deathworlders. The human fleet departed Earth under cover of darkness, heading for enemy territory in the battle that would determine humanity's place among the stars. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Serenity system, home to the Valerian Republic's capital world. 24 converted ships faced the most beautiful planet any human had ever seen. Serenity Prime sparkled like a jewel in space, covered with crystal cities and floating gardens that glowed with soft light. Admiral Jack Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Independence, watching the alien world grow larger on his screen. Around the planet, orbital defense platforms drifted in perfect geometric patterns. They looked more like works of art than military installations, with curved surfaces that reflected starlight in rainbow colors. Sensors show 12 defense platforms, reported his tactical officer. Each one is larger than our biggest ship. They're powering up some kind of energy weapons. Jack nodded. Signal all ships. Attack Formation Alpha. Remember, we're not here to destroy their world. We're here to prove that we can. The human fleet spread out and began its approach to Serenity Prime. Behind them lay 3 days of jumping through Valerian space, avoiding patrol ships and scanning for ambushes. The aliens had tried to intercept them twice, but both times the human ships had outrun their pursuers using tactics learned in asteroid fields around Earth. The first orbital platform opened fire when the human ships reached weapons range. A brilliant beam of purple energy lanced out toward the Independence, powerful enough to melt through any known armor. But Admiral Sullivan had learned from the Battle of Titan. His ship rolled to avoid the blast while continuing its attack approach. Fire. Railgun batteries 1 and 2, Jack ordered. 2 metal slugs crossed space in seconds and struck the orbital platform. The first round penetrated its beautiful shell and destroyed the main power core. The second round tore through the station's structural supports. The elegant defense platform broke apart like a glass sculpture dropped on concrete. Target destroyed, his weapons officer reported with satisfaction. All around Serenity Prime, the battle was brief but decisive. Human ships darted between the orbital platforms like wolves among sheep. The alien defenses had been designed to look impressive and deter attacks through intimidation. Against enemies who actually wanted to fight, they were completely useless. Captain Steve Murphy aboard the Hammer destroyed 3 platforms before the remaining stations stopped firing and began broadcasting surrender signals. Captain Dan Mitchell's ship Sledgehammer punched holes through 2 more before the entire defense network went dark. All orbital resistance has ceased, Admiral Sullivan announced to his fleet. Begin Phase 2, landing operations. On the surface of Serenity Prime, panic spread through the crystal cities as human ships descended from orbit. The Valerian population had never experienced warfare. For them, violence was something that happened in other galaxies to primitive species. The idea that their own world could be invaded was beyond their understanding. Colonel Rick Barnes led the first wave of human Marines to touch down on alien soil. His landing craft set down in the main plaza of the capital city, crushing flower beds and scattering alien civilians who had never seen anything uglier than their perfectly manicured parks. Secure the area, Rick ordered his troops. Remember, we're here to make a point, not to hurt civilians. The human Marines spread out through the plaza, their heavy boots echoing off crystal pathways. The Valerian civilians who saw them fled in terror, not because the humans were violent, but because they were so different from anything in their peaceful world. These were beings from a death world, built for survival and conflict. Valerian security forces arrived within minutes, but they were completely unprepared for what they faced. Their weapons were designed for crowd control, not combat against armored soldiers. Their training focused on maintaining order among peaceful citizens, not fighting enemies who shot back. Drop your weapons, Rick called out in the Valerian language, using translation software developed from captured equipment. The alien security officers looked at their small energy pistols, then at the humans' assault rifles. Without a word, they dropped their weapons and raised their hands. They had seen the tactical reports from the Battle of Titan. Fighting humans in close combat was suicide. Similar scenes played out across the capital city as more human landing craft touched down. The Valerian military simply melted away when faced with actual soldiers. Within 2 hours, human forces controlled all major government buildings, communication centers, and transportation hubs. The speed of the victory shocked everyone, including the humans themselves. Admiral Sullivan had expected to fight a bloody battle for every city block. Instead, his forces had conquered the capital of an interstellar empire without firing a shot at ground targets. "Sir," his communications officer announced, We're receiving a transmission from the Valerian High Command. Admiral Korath Prime wants to speak with you. Jack accepted the call. The alien admiral appeared on his screen looking older and more tired than during their previous encounters. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship showed signs of hasty repairs from the Battle of Titan. Admiral Sullivan, Korath Prime said in heavily accented English. I formally request negotiations for the immediate cessation of hostilities. You mean surrender? Jack replied bluntly. The Valerian admiral's skin turned a deeper shade of gray. If you prefer that term, yes. The Valerian Republic surrenders unconditionally to human forces. We ask only for mercy for our civilian population. Was quiet for a moment, thinking about how to respond. This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. What they did next would be remembered for thousands of years. Admiral Korath Prime, he said finally, we accept your surrender. Human forces will withdraw from Serenity Prime within 24 hours. We have no interest in occupying your world or harming your people. The alien admiral looked confused. You are not going to enslave us? Execute our leaders? Destroy our cities? No, Jack replied. We came here to prove a point, not to commit genocide. The point has been made. The confusion on Korath Prime's face was shared by observers throughout the galaxy. Every civilized species had been watching the human assault on Serenity Prime, expecting to witness the brutal conquest of a peaceful world. Instead, they saw something unprecedented. A military victory followed by immediate withdrawal. Within hours of the Valerian surrender, humanity received its first diplomatic contact from another alien species. Speaker Gentlesong of the Arcturian Collective transmitted a message directly to Admiral Sullivan. The Arcturian Collective formally recognizes human sovereignty and requests the establishment of diplomatic relations, she announced. Your species has demonstrated both military capability and moral restraint. These qualities are rare in the galaxy. The message opened floodgates of communication from across civilized space. Species that had been neutral or hostile during the war suddenly wanted to talk to the humans. The Draconian Empire offered a military alliance. The Centaurian Trade Federation proposed economic partnerships. Even former Valerian allies began distancing themselves from the Republic. President Helen Cross addressed the United Nations from the same chamber where she had authorized Operation Lighthouse just days before. The mood in the room had changed, completely. Where there had been fear and desperation, now there was cautious optimism. My fellow humans, she began, the war with the Valerian Republic is over. Their surrender has been accepted, and our forces are returning home. But more importantly, we have gained something we never expected. Respect. She activated a holographic display showing messages from dozens of alien civilizations. 57 species have requested diplomatic contact with Earth. 12 have offered military alliances. 23 want to establish trade agreements. The galaxy no longer sees us as dangerous primitives. They see us as equals. The transition from wartime to peacetime happened faster than anyone expected. Within weeks, human diplomats were working with alien representatives to establish Earth's place in galactic society. The process was not always smooth, but it was happening. Admiral Sullivan was promoted to head the new Terran Defense Force, humanity's first interstellar military organization. His mission was simple: make sure that no one ever again made the mistake of attacking Earth. Captain Jake Morrison became humanity's first official ambassador to the Reformed Galactic Council. His job was equally important: prove that humans could be trusted with the power they had demonstrated. The Valerian Republic, meanwhile, began the long process of rebuilding their shattered military and wounded pride. They had learned the hardest possible lesson about the dangers of judging species by their origins. Admiral Korath Prime retired in disgrace, but he made sure that future Valerian officers studied human tactics extensively. Dr. Sandra Martinez published her research on galactic civilization, creating the first comprehensive study of how peaceful evolution could leave species vulnerable to conflict. Her work became required reading in military academies across human space. The war had lasted less than 6 months, But it changed everything. Humanity went from being unknown primitives to respected members of galactic society. More importantly, they had established a principle that would guide their future relationships with alien species.